It is my pleasure to welcome everyone that is gathered today during the high-level forum on the future of the EU criminal justice. I am really grateful that the Commission has decided to make this debate about the future of the criminal justice in EU and in EU member states, and to gather representatives of member states, but also academics, practitioners, people that understand how the criminal law works, and they know how to restructure or to reform the criminal law for the better future of our citizens. We have just heard words of Commissioner McGrath, in which he emphasized the key challenges facing the European criminal justice system. I'm really happy that not only Commission is here, but we have representatives of different institutions, that also Chairman Javier Zarza Lejos of the LIBE committee is with us, and I hope that it gives us opportunity to discuss all the pending issues. I think that this discussion of today might be to a certain extent a continuation of some of the discussions we had during the informal meeting of the Ministers of Justice that took place in Warsaw on the 31st of January. And we discussed the future of the justice systems, but also we discussed issues concerning the mutual recognition, as well as some issues concerning the accountability for war crimes committed as a result of the Russian aggression in Ukraine. And I think it gives us a space for the further reflection, and some of those points have been already mentioned by Commissioner McGrath. But I think that the very idea of this forum is that we are not just concentrating on some general issues, but we are going deeply into the debate by organizing 4 consecutive meetings that are planned for this year. And I think this space and this time is giving us a chance to discuss the most important issues. I think that we should mention that at the same time when we are discussing the future of the EU criminal justice, at the same time we are negotiating different new pieces of the EU legislation. And here I would like especially to mention the Victims Support Directive, which is subject to discussion, but also the new directive on corruption. So, but I think that our intention is to move with those proposals quite quickly forward. But here I think that we should rather think about, let's say, long-term developments and not just those that could be, let's say, framed within 1 to 3 years. Because I think we all observe different challenges and problems that have to be responded in more comprehensive and in a more sustained way. I think that the high-level forum gives us the opportunity to look to the future together in an open and constructive manner, and I'm really certain that every voice in this discussion might be important and may contribute to developing solutions that will benefit all the member states and their citizens. I think one of the issues that is on the agenda is to what extent we should work and we should think about extension of so-called Euro crimes that are defined in the treaty, because we know well that the future of the EU criminal law requires some deeper reflection on this, and I think there is a maybe, I wouldn't say dominant, but there is a bigger reflection that extension to at least cover hate crimes or hate speech crimes is something on which EU member states agree, but we know that it may create some additional obstacles concerning the change of the EU law regarding this. But I think that we should discuss issues relating to cybercrime, the use and consequences of the use of artificial intelligence, as well as problems of organized crime and drug trafficking, as well as illegal interference by third countries in the democratic system of EU member states. And I think that we should spend some time on deeper reflection to what extent the criminal law is adjusted to a new reality in which we are living, and I mean here consequences of the Russian aggression. And here one of the topics on the agenda is to what extent the future of the EU criminal law should extend to cover extension of competences of the EPPO to prosecute circumvention or lack of compliance with sanctions that are imposed. I think it is one of the most important topics these days to be discussed. Commissioner McGrath has mentioned the question of the European arrest warrant. Please look that European arrest warrant is, as well as European investigation order, are one of the most brilliant achievements of the European integration. Thanks to those mechanisms, we might have the area of freedom and security. We may allow for the free movement of citizens within the borders of the EU. But at the same time, we should think to what extent those instruments are effective and whether this principle of mutual recognition works as it should in the EU, and how we should provide for the harmonization of certain rules, or how we should update existing instruments, but also use some new techniques, new mechanisms in order to make this cooperation smooth, in order not to prevent the proper operation of those institutions. So I think this question of effectiveness is one of those most important ideas in the context of development of the EU criminal law. I think that the result of our discussion will bring us towards the common direction in which we are going. And I'm certain that thanks to our active participation, we'll be able to reflect deeply on the future of the EU criminal law. And let me reflect on just one point with which I was coming here today. I was just thinking that somewhere in 2008, 2009, there were some groups of experts like we are here, politicians, commissioners, representatives of different institutions, that were thinking about agenda that later on became a Stockholm program. Okay, Stockholm program adopted first Tampere, then Hague, then Brussels on 1st December 2009. And please look, 15 years have passed, and after those 15 years we see how importantly the EU law has changed and what was the impact on the life of citizens. This whole package of directives that have been prepared and implemented later on that totally transformed the vision how the EU may change the life of citizens and may provide for better guarantees of their rights under Article 6 Section 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights. So maybe we are right now in this moment that we are reflecting on the future, but sooner or later this reflection would contribute to creating some new, I don't know what would be the name, some new kind of a Stockholm program. Maybe it will be Copenhagen program, maybe some other, that would become simply part of our reality and later on would be implemented by decision makers. Let us wish that this discussion initiated within this high-level forum would contribute to real serious developments in the context of the EU integration. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Minister, also for reminding us about the history, the 15 years since the entry into force of the Lisbon Treaty. Many things have evolved. The Stockholm Programme brought much progress. Lots of laws have been adopted. And indeed, one guiding principle for our reflection will be indeed the effectiveness of our work. That does not necessarily call for more legislation. There may be areas where additional legislative change may be justified and required. There may be other areas where non-legislative work is more pertinent and more effective than legislative work. So thanks for putting that forward. And a possible, let's say, label for our final outcome as a Copenhagen program. Let's see where we stand and how far we are going. One key partner, obviously, in our reflections is the European Parliament. So it's my honor and pleasure to introduce Mr. Zatharalechos, the chair of the LIBE Committee. Thanks for joining. Mr. Zatharalechos, the floor is yours.